the advice you provided me was about the like pomodoros and then getting the work done, and then after that, just not like setting, not like doing high intensity work, and then not like just randomly sitting on your computer and wasting time, and that like
Right.
really increased my like productivity and made like working a lot more enjoyable too. So that was
Good.
great. But one of the issues I kind of ran into, like after doing it for about 2 weeks, like it was very productive, and then I started getting like bad brain fog, and I think I know the reason why was probably because I stopped exercising around the time just to focus on the work, and then I also started eating poorly, so that all accumulated to that. But then when I got that brain fog, I wasn't like done the pomodoros, and then I ended up just like wasting a bunch of time like after that because I thought I'll take a break playing video games, and then the following day made it even harder to work, and then I kind of
Yeah.
like it kind of broke down from there, and I started becoming less and less productive, and the remainder 2 weeks after that were kind of bad. So I guess my question to you is like when you experience brain fog, especially during the pomodoros, like how do you usually like tackle that? What would you do? Like, do you continue working on the pomodoros? Do you like take a break? How do you kind of approach that?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a couple things going on here, right? So one thing to keep in mind is sort of like the dopamine receptors in your brain, right? So and again, this is like kind of just an indicator, right? So I can imagine, like, I think for myself, right? It's like sometimes I go to bed at night and like I'm thinking about waking up the next morning and what I'm going to work on, and I'm kind of excited to get started to do that because I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to get this done. It's going to be such a productive day, right? And that's when my dopamine is like it's primed. It's good because that's what dopamine is. It's like the anticipation of something, right? And then some days, like I'm like, oh, I don't feel like I don't want to get this done tomorrow, right? And it's like I just wish I could just take some time off and play video games, or or I'm anticipating some other thing, right? And so that's kind of how you can gauge where you're at. And what you want to do is like if you're experiencing that like lack of motivation for like doing the work, you probably have your dopamine like triggered to something like you're getting too much, from some other activities, right? It could be food, it could be sex, it could be porn, it could be just playing games, right? It could be all kinds of different things, or your phone, just getting notifications on your phone, like checking your email, right? Instagram, all this stuff is all kind of, so it's sometimes better to like do more of like a dopamine diet, right? To break that habit so that you're sort of like, imagine there's actually this really good Black Mirror episode. You ever seen the Black Mirror stuff on Netflix? No. Okay, so there's this episode where this chick, they like make a copy of her brain, right? And so there's this little like projected version of her that's in this little microchip, right? And she thinks she's the real version, and the guy's like, he's like talking to her, and he's like, no, you're actually a copy of Melissa or whatever, but you're supposed to like work for her. So he's like, you need to run her whole household and everything, and she's like, fuck that, like I don't want to be a fucking slave, right? This is bullshit. She's freaking out and stuff, and she's like, I'm not gonna do this shit, like turn on her coffee maker and like, she's supposed to be like, it's like have a copy of your brain that can like, run your schedule and stuff and be your little slave robot for you, right? But she feels like she's the real one. So what he does is he puts her in timeout. He like runs the cycle because it's in a simulator, right? And so he runs a simulator, and the simulator runs for like, I don't know, like a week, right? And she's just in this fucking room with nothing to do for a week. And like by the time the week, like in real time, it's only like 5 minutes, but in her time, a week has passed, like in her life. And she's just like, her hair is like frayed. She's like freaking out, right? Just sitting with nothing to do at all for a week, right? And then she's like, sort of like complacent. She's like, okay, I'll do this stuff, but she's still not like being 100% compliant. So then he runs a simulator for a fucking year, right? At the end of the year, right, which takes like 5 minutes in real time, she's like, I will do anything. Just give me something to do. And she's like happy to like run the coffee maker and to like be a fucking slave, because it's better than doing nothing for a whole fucking year, nothing at all, right? To entertain you at all, right? And so that's just a good, I thought that was a good example of like deprive yourself of like, if you're having trouble doing your work, deprive yourself of all other things, right? It's like, I don't know if you ever seen like Alex Becker, right?
Yeah.
The most woke YouTuber, right? So, but he got rid of all his possessions. He didn't even have a fucking couch. Okay. Then he became super productive. I don't know what he's doing now, trading crypto and stuff. But anyway, he became super productive because he took away everything that was fun and pleasurable in his life so that work would be extremely pleasurable, right? Because your brain just wants something, it wants the most engaging dopamine releasing thing that it can find, right? And that's why people get addicted to drugs, aside from the physical addictions, but the psychological addictions to food, to sex, to these things, is because that's the most like stimulating thing, gambling, right? And so you take away some of those things and then the work will become more stimulating again. So, but when you're in the situation, when you have a brain fog type of situation, I mean, obviously try to figure out if there's some kind of chemical reason for it. If you're not working out, if you're eating shit, you know, something like that. But ultimately, I think the best thing to do is to hunker down and power through it, right? Just to push through it and then be thinking, okay, I need to fix this by taking away the other things in my life for a while that are distracting me. It's not even distracting. It's because it's giving you that dopamine hit. That's where that dopamine fasting comes in. And it doesn't mean that you can't ever, they have to be a total aesthetic, that you can't ever play video games or have fun or have sex or anything like that. It just means that you might need to remove some of those things so that they're happening less frequently until you get that balance. So you get the excitement where the work is creating that dopamine reaction first. It's getting first priority rather than those other things.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Just quickly, the follow up on the pushing through it. So like when I was experiencing it, it was like extremely that like Pomodoro I was doing, it was extremely like unproductive. Like I was like super, like it was super hard to get like typing done because I do a lot of blogging work and that's what I'm focusing on right now. So like, would you say that you just like stick through it and push through it and then do that the following day? Like what if it persisted and it made it like those Pomodoros became not as focused work as you kind of wanted to? Would you just keep pushing through that?
Yeah, I mean, you just got to make it focus, like, right? Sometimes, especially writing, right? When I have writer's block, I write about writer's block. Okay. Right? It's like, that's the ultimate secret weapon to writer's block, is write about the fucking writer's block. So I've written whole blog posts and Instagram posts where the whole thing I'm saying is I can't figure out what to fucking write today. I hate when this happens. You know, but this is what I do when this happens. And I talk about that whole process or what I'm going through. And you can always write about that because that's what you're experiencing right now. So, you know, whatever it is, just make sure that you're making yourself do some like focus productive, right? Don't just say, okay, well, I'm going to sit here and time out the Pomodoro, right? Make yourself be doing so. Even if it's shitty work, it's better to do shitty work than no work, right? Because you're training yourself. It's the same thing, you know, again, like it's when I'm running, when I was doing ultra running, if I had like a 20-mile run, a lot of times at mile 12, I'm like, fuck this, I'm done. Like, I'm like, this is that. No more fun. I'm done. I'm in a lot of pain. I'm tired. Right. And I just have to push through it. I just have to make myself like, it's like, I have to tell my brain, like, look, it doesn't matter what you feel. It doesn't matter what you want. Like when you are signed up for this shit, you're fucking doing it. Right. So it's the same thing with the Pomodoro. It's like, no, you're working for 20 more minutes. That's what you're doing. After 20 more minutes, you take a 5-minute break, but you're working for 20 minutes. I don't give a fuck what you think about it. That's what you're doing.
Got it. Really appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah.